And now, it's Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on CL 650. Now broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. Here's your host, Tyler Grain.
This is Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk as we broadcast from the Barber & Co. studios. Second half kickoff brought to you by findaproperty.ca. Find your next home at findaproperty.ca. Kevin has an open house tomorrow between 2 and 4, basically right across the street from BC Place. Find the details at findaproperty.ca. Good evening. My name is Tyler Green. It is the second half of the program. You can find me on Twitter at TylerGreenFC. Simon Fudge, my co-host, is at SimonFudge74. There's lots of Whitecaps Canadian men's national team program to discuss on the program. In this second half, we'll also hear about the USL rebrand from the executive VP, Jake Edwards, in just a matter of seconds. But first, Simon has the Italian scoreboard presented by Via Tevere Pizzeria Napoletana, 1190 Victoria Drive, serving up true wood-fire Neapolitan pizza in East Vancouver. It's absolutely fantastic. If you like beer and you like pizza, the food truck hits some of the breweries around town on different days. Via Tevere Neapolitan Express. It's pretty good to mix the pair. So find it, just Google Via Tevere, and you'll find all the details that you need to. But Simon, you've got the scores.
Yes, 2 games today in Serie A, and Sassuolo lost 3-1 at home to Fiorentina. In Sicily, it was Palermo 3, Napoli 1. There are 8 games tomorrow. The feature games are Cesena against Juventus, Roma against Parma, and Chievo hosting Sampdoria.
Yeah, Napoli losing. The guys at Via Tevere not going to be happy about that.
Yeah, but Palermo is a tough place to play. So I'm, they'll be disappointed to drop points there, but Rossonero are a hard bunch when they're in Sicily, when they're at home in Sicily. So.
All right, USL Pro has rebranded to simply USL. United Soccer League. It used to be United Soccer Leagues. It is now United Soccer League. Simon, we talked about this a little bit earlier on, and we think it's a good move that they've kind of rebranded and are rebranding the whole kind of system.
Yeah, I think it's very good because, the old system left a lot of confusion. I mean, even back in the days when we were watching the Whitecaps at Swangard, too many times, how it was written up, even in papers or in various press, it was always actually written out as United Soccer League when actually it was United Soccer Leagues. But it was one of those common, honest mistakes that was always made, and it was because there was that kind of convolution to the whole setup. So the fact that we know basically just this league as being USL really, really helps. Yes, okay, they've taken some pages from MLS in terms of their branding and the customization with the logos. That's fine. But the clarity is probably the biggest thing, and I think that will be the most helpful thing here going forward.
Executive VP of USL, Jake Edwards, talks about the rebrand of USL.
It's USL Rising. It's an exciting day for us, exciting time and an exciting future ahead. USL is an aspirational league, so we felt USL Rising was a good moniker, as you call it, for where we are now and where we aspire to be. 2015 season, we're going to see 24 clubs in the league, 13 new clubs. So, incredible off-season growth. Very proud about that. Very proud about the quality of the groups joining us. They're going to add a tremendous amount of value to the league. Going on this rebranding process, I would say it's going back about 6 or 8 months now. But the decision to rebrand came before that. Last year it was part of a strategic plan, a long-term plan for the league, which had a number of initiatives that we would work through over the next 3 to 4 years. But the rebrand was the central pillar from which all of those other initiatives should flow. We're at a point now in our league where we've got a really solid foundation. We've worked hard as a league and as member clubs to get where we are now. And we're about to embark on a whole host of new things, but a new era for the league. So we want to look at the name of the league. We want to look at the look and feel. And we want to look at the story. And were we communicating all the things that we wanted to through those different mediums? We didn't think we were. So the rebrand was exactly that. Putting a story together. We've worked hard on that. We believe we're telling the story with our pillars. And we're rallying around the We Are United. I feel very strongly about the We Are United. We're united as a set of clubs, united as a set of communities, and a united fan base. And we're all working towards the same goal, to make this league the best league, and to make those clubs in those markets the best clubs. So when we designed the new system for the USL, we didn't want it to go to the traditional route of a shield or a crest or a league mark that was inflexible, that was had to be sort of worshipped. It wasn't about the league. So we felt, as we went through the design process with our design firm, Good Omen Partners in New York, we were very excited to go down the road of looking at the USL as a word mark, a stylized word mark, as the logo itself for the league. And what's really cool about the logo is, yes, there's a primary mark and there's primary colors, and that's how we'll use it in the main from the league's point of view, but it was designed as a geometrical toolkit. You know, it's got the geometry of the football field in there, and it's got the squares and the triangles and the semicircles and all the shapes and angles that you find on a field contained within it, so that it is completely adaptable. And that was the whole direction we wanted to go. It's customizable and adaptable to the local clubs, to their club colors, to their designs, to how they want to identify themselves through the brand, to the league's brand, or the supporters, how the supporters want to identify to their local club through the USL mark. They can do that with the team's colors. Their corporate partners can do the same thing. So it's very adaptable. So the league logo can take a back seat, but it's more about the clubs. And we thought that was really cool. And I think the feedback we've got so far from clubs has been really positive. So I'm really excited to see how that plays out.
There you go. Quite the informative rebrand descriptor from Executive VP of the USL, Jake Edwards. And a lot of the things that we talked about, just with them wanting to rebrand, wanting to kind of be able to share those stories, show that they're united as a league. And if you even go to their website, really a new rebrand of their website as well, and it tells a lot of that story.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an encouraging sign. They've obviously identified that, you know, that branding and that identification goes a long way to raising the profile of their league. It's been a bit overdue, I think, but I think they were in a position in terms of with the new teams coming in and their relationship, I think, with MLS and where they sit within that all framework of professional soccer in North America, that it was just about time that they needed to do this.
Get into Kia Vancouver right now. Half-price payments at Kia Vancouver, BC's #1 Kia dealership. Find them at 396 Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon, or online at KiaVancouver.com. We take a look at the Barber poll today. What do you want to see, and what do you expect from the Canadian men's national team in 2015? That is the Barber poll, brought to you by Barber & Co. BarberandCo.ca, on Twitter at Barber & Co. And Simon and I will get into the debate of the Barber poll in just a moment. We'll talk about what to do with the Canadian men's national team this year. What are our expectations for 2015? And with the Olympic qualifying tournament coming up at the end of the year, is that something that should be built into the plans for the actual national team? All that to be discussed next.
Follow us on Twitter at Soccer Talk 650 and at Tyler Green FC. This is Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on CIL 650.
Kia Vancouver Vancouver asks, what's your favorite part of the game? The first half or the second half? While you think about that, we'll tell you about Kia's half-price payments on now, with Kia Vancouver paying half your payments on select 2015s, financing only. Pick your favorite half, and Kia Vancouver will pay the other half. And new Kia buyers always get free lifetime car washes, oil changes, airport shuttle, and parking at Kia Vancouver on Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon and KiaVancouver.com.
The Straight Razor Shave, a leading man classic. Steady hand coaxing the rugged face back to smoothness. This nearly lost art has found revival at Barber & Co. Hot towel, straight edge blade, and your face. It's an experience that reminds you you're alive. You're a man in the company of history's finest men. Start at barberandco.ca. Pick your barber shop in Yaletown, Gastown, the Financial District, Cambie at 18th, and now Main Street and 12th Avenue. And relax into the big leather chair for the shave of your life.
The family story begins generations ago on Via Tevere, a street in the heart of Naples, where food was the celebration of life. Today, in East Van, Via Tevere Pizzeria Napoletana honors their family heritage with La Vera Pizza Napoletana, pizza that showcases authentic Neapolitan ingredients and the time-honored tradition of wood-fired cooking. Come experience La Vera Pizza Napoletana, true Neapolitan pizza at Via Tevere Pizzeria, 1190 Victoria Drive, and look for the Via Tevere Neapolitan Express food cart around town.
What do you want?
A balcony so high it looks down into soccer matches at BC Place.
A pub I can walk to with a dozen big screens.
Kevin O'Toole has created findaproperty.ca to help you find it. Designed to be simply straightforward, findaproperty.ca is an invaluable tool. That's Kevin O'Toole, Royal LePage, Sussex, for buyers and sellers in the greater Vancouver area like you. So find what you want
A backyard big enough for my own soccer pitch.
at findaproperty.ca.
The Vancouver Street Soccer League isn't out to change the world. Just give the men and women in our homeless communities a chance to play soccer. Regardless of skill, everyone's included in practices and matches with teams from UBC, the Vancouver Police Department, the Vancouver Mayor's Office, and more. The focus is fun, but it builds skill and confidence, and that can change someone's world. Find out more at vancouverstreetsoccer.com.
Vancouver Street Soccer League. Get into it and get behind it. And let's change the world.
Pain or injury slowing you down? Take it to the choice of many top athletes, Expert Physio. Serving the Lower Mainland for over 35 years, the team at Expert Physio is dedicated to individualized care with specialized services such as orthotics, acupuncture, IMS, plus dizziness, pelvic floor, and certified hand therapies. Over 300 physicians referred to Expert Physio last year, and 100% of patients surveyed said they choose Expert Physio again. You're in good hands with Expert Physio. Burnaby Heights or at 8 Rinks, expertphysio.ca.
This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on CIL 650. Now broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. Here's your host, Tyler Green.
Get into Kia Vancouver. Right now, half-price payments at Kia Vancouver, BC's #1 Kia dealership, 396 Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon, or online at KiaVancouver.com. A good evening to you. This is Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk as we broadcast from the Barber & Co. studios. My name is Tyler Green. My co-host and Goal.com writer is Simon Fudge. He joins me in studio, and he is the one that has some of those scores from Germany.
Last night, Borussia Dortmund getting back on track with a 4-2 win over Mainz. Of the main games today, Bayern Munich destroyed Hamburg by 8-0. It was Bayer Leverkusen 4, Wolfsburg 5, and Borussia Mönchengladbach staying up there with the front runners with a 1-0 win at home over Cologne. Tomorrow, Hertha Berlin will play Freiburg, and Hanover will play Paderborn.
Were we even concerned at all about Bayern Munich falling off? Not really.
I watched part of this game today, and they could have scored at will. I mean, it really was frightening.
Well, they scored 8 goals, Simon. I'm pretty sure they did score at will.
What I mean is they could have. I think there were enough chances for it to have gone into double digits. It was frightening to actually watch, really, at times. Yeah.
Tonight's Barber Poll brought to you by Barber & Co. Get the authentic straight razor shave, haircut, buzz cut, whatever you need. Hit up barberandco.ca. What are your expectations for the Canadian men's national team in 2015? You can tweet us your thoughts at Soccer Talk 650. at Tyler Green FC, at Simon Fudge 74, and that is the topic tonight. Because Canada has a soon-to-be-announced friendly coming up against Guatemala in a friendly in March 26th. So far, they've had a camp, played some friendlies against Iceland. Canada's U20 squad failed to qualify for the U20 World Cup. So, Simon, what are your expectations for Canada's national team in 2015?
Start to get the youth movement going. The next generation of players that really should be on the forefront of starting to see senior international action need to be brought into the fray, because they're going to be the players that are going to lead us forward here in the next few years. We've got to get a lot of these kids really blooded to senior international football, simply because of the fact that we don't really have any choices currently, or other choices coming from elsewhere. That's probably needs to be the most important, the thing that we should expect to see.
I will hold off on mine for a second, but I want to get more into that. With that, what's sort of the first change that you would make? What type of guys are now gone from that roster? Do you keep any of those veteran players in to kind of guide some of those youngsters, or are guys like Will Johnson now the veteran guys? Or do you get rid of, like, who do you get rid of first from that sort of youth movement?
I think there's a certain number of senior players that probably need to go. Certainly the ones that, for starters, no unattached FC players, for one. I think it's got to be one thing that has to be put down as a marker. But some of the more senior guys, particularly guys that are well north of 30. I think of Dwayne De Rosera, Julian de Guzman. They've served well. They've been prepared to be committed at all times. I'm sure they still would like to be. But they're just not going to be there. I don't even think for this cycle or even the cycle beyond that. And if you keep them in the squad, they're taking a spot away from a younger player. If you're going to retain an experienced player, Will Johnson, if he can get healthy and fit, would be one. And Atiba Hutchinson would maybe be the other. But really, it's about really getting older guys out, the really older players for a younger player coming in. And I think also players that just have proved that they're not going to be able to do it at this level. I've said his name time and again. To St. Ricketts is definitely one for me that has to be moved on, because we need to really get some fresher blood into the strike force, because right now we don't know if we can score goals at this level, and we've got to change up who's going to be up front playing for us to see if we can find someone or a pair of players or more that can maybe put the ball in the back of the net for Canada.
Yeah, and it's, there's more guys that are now with the, unattached FC. There's, Marcel de Jong, was with the Augsburg, but his contract was terminated and just, really a few weeks ago. So there's another guy. And yeah, you look at guys that have experience. David Edgar is a guy that's still young but has experience in terms of how many games that he's played. He's 27 years old, so he's sort of one of those more veteran players. Will Johnson, another one of those players that now has sort of that next step, or is that sort of player that needs to kind of take that leadership role on now for the next time. But there's just a lot of guys that don't necessarily, have teams to play for, and that's quite unfortunate.
Yeah, it's just not good, and it hampers the team's ability to obviously perform and play well, because they're bringing in players that are obviously lacking in match fitness, and that's just not helpful. But obviously we're continuing to run into these problems, and sadly I don't know if they're going to continue to go away. If that's the case, then especially with USL it being in place and some of those younger players getting a chance to play, well then I think the alternative has got to be to turn to those players and to give them a chance, because it needs to be a long-term vision. Qualifying for Russia 2018 is absolutely, it just simply is not realistic. We need to use that qualifying cycle to set ourselves up for maybe the next cycle or the cycle after that. We're that far behind, ladies and gentlemen, and if we don't sort of trying to take a bit of a steady approach in terms of putting ourselves in a much more solid foundation, particularly with our depth of our player pool depth now, we're always going to be really lagging behind as we are in the rankings and the statistics, and most glaringly on the pitch in our own region here, which is CONCACAF.
Looking forward, obviously there's a friendly coming up that they're going to announce against Guatemala in March, but the Gold Cup is this summer. What would you like to see at that Gold Cup?
More improvement, but a great opportunity for, at the very least, some of the a handful of the younger guys that are, well, just over 20 years of age, or certainly under 25, to be starting every one of Canada's games, getting them blooded into taking on a lot of these rival countries that they have to take on in World Cup qualifying. Obviously, the environment, the setting is not the most ideal of environments because it's a neutral environment playing anywhere in American venues. So you don't get that same feeling of playing a Honduras into Tegucigalpa or San Pedro Sula as if you were playing them in Nashville. But it's still a good place to get them blooded. And so that it can do a number of things. It gets the players in. It also gets Benito Floro the opportunity to see what he's got to work with and how he wants to shape his teams in terms of what they can do as a team themselves, but how they match up, but also how they can match up against their opponents.
Here's how I look at that tournament, and here's me now answering the Barber poll. For that tournament, what I would like to see them try to do, and achievement is, for me, go as far as they can in this tournament. But I would like to see a combination of a lot of players that are going to be playing for that Olympic qualifying tournament, getting those guys as many minutes as possible, getting them playing together, and then mix in some of those veteran players, whether that's guys like Will Johnson, some guys from Europe as well, to provide that leadership, to provide some of those veteran things that you require, and to show those younger players what exactly they need to do in order to play in that national team. Like you said, I don't want to see any more unattached FC players. If there's a guy playing for Edmonton or a guy playing for unattached FC, I want to see the guy playing for Edmonton. I don't care if this guy has 30, 40 caps to his name, 50 caps, doesn't matter. I want to see somebody younger, somebody who's playing on a regular basis, getting minutes and getting an opportunity, because those are the guys that are going to want to improve and want to show that they deserve to stay at that tournament and that team. And the other thing is, with that Gold Cup, is I want to see some of those younger players, those guys that are going to help Canada qualify potentially for the Olympics, play. And the Gold Cup is sort of that perfect opportunity because Europe's over. You can also get guys from MLS. So you have sort of everybody almost available to you. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to get guys. There's some guys that weren't able to play for the U20 qualifying tournament because their club teams didn't necessarily want to let them go because they're integral parts to that team. Now those players are going to be available and able to come play, and it would be nice to see those guys now in a Canadian uniform, because those are the guys that could then potentially help Canada qualify for the Olympics. And so I want to see more of those guys in the tournament, and I think having USL, WFC2, TFC2, the Impact second team playing, and a lot of those guys getting opportunities to play is going to be great for those players to get minutes and later on down the road. But I would like to see that in the Gold Cup and see them go, like you said, go to that younger route, but keep some of those veteran players around. But we don't need to see Julian de Guzman anymore, Dwayne De Rosario anymore. And I think we're going to get, the Dwayne DiRosario tribute match like we in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Give it to him, and then move on.
Yep.
And get it done. For me, get it done earlier so it's not something that just drags on. There's no sense in continuing to bring him because you haven't had a game in Toronto. Get it done, move on, and start building the team a little bit more.
And I think there's also some NASL players that would be available for the Gold Cup too, because it falls in between the spring and the fall season, the early season, the late season that they'll kind of go into as well. And we know the likes of Phil Davis is in Ottawa, Henson Bokai in Edmonton. You know, they could have good starts to the season. They should also be given that consideration as well. I mean, Mark DeSantos said as much in the local press in Ottawa a few weeks ago. You know, the Olympics for me is a major one. I've said before how important it can be to building towards World Cup qualifying and how to build our senior men's national team going forward. If they can use the Gold Cup to set that team up for qualifying in October in the U.S. and go, then that would be a very good thing, because it would be huge for Canada to qualify for Rio 2016. I think from an experience point of view and a foundation point of view with our senior squad, it isn't just the Russia 2018 World Cup qualifying cycle, it's the ones after that. It's sort of the next few years that we can really take as from the launch pad of playing in the Olympics. It's as big of a tournament as playing in any World Cup, and even the World Cup. It's got that kind of level of prestige. It's going to be in a place where the game is God, and put on a terrific World Cup this past summer, and it's just an opportunity that the Canada really can't afford to pass up if it's got a really good opportunity of being able to make it, because it could do some great things now, but more importantly could set things up going forward.
Hot Fudge finishes off the program tonight, but up next we'll continue our conversation on the Canadian men's national team, and we'll also look ahead to what the Whitecaps need to do over the next few weeks to prepare for the season. Plus, Stephen Beitashour, defender, is coming up next.
Follow us on Twitter at Soccer Talk 650 and at Tyler Green FC. This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on Sea Isle 650.
Not that your stylist at the salon isn't doing a good job, but man, you deserve the big red leather barber chair experience of Barber & Co. Here's how it works. Go to barberandco.ca. Book your appointment at one of the 5 barber shops in Gastown, Yaletown, the Financial District, Cambie at 18th, and now Main Street and 12th Avenue. You can just walk in, too, and get your hair cut, hot shave, buzz cut, fade, or beard trim experience. A great wedding party idea, too. barberandco.ca.
Because the beautiful game's always been very social. Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk with Tyler Green invites you to get social with them. Join Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on Twitter and Facebook for the latest on the show, promotions, previews, game coverage, and prizes. Plus, they love it when you interact. Get into the game. Get social with Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk. Become a friend at facebook.com/SoccerTalkVan and follow the guys on Twitter at Soccer Talk 650, Tyler Green FC, or Simon Fudge 74.
Kia Vancouver asks, what's your favorite part of the game? The first half or the second half? While you think about that, we'll tell you about Kia's half-price payments on now, with Kia Vancouver paying half your payments on select 2015s, financing only. Pick your favorite half, and Kia Vancouver will pay the other half. And new Kia buyers always get free lifetime car washes, oil changes, airport shuttle, and parking at Kia Vancouver on Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon and KiaVancouver.com.
The family story begins generations ago on Via Tevere, a street in the heart of Naples, where food was the celebration of life. Today, in East Van, Via Tevere Pizzeria Napoletana honors their family heritage with La Vera Pizza Napoletana, pizza that showcases authentic Neapolitan ingredients and the time-honored tradition of wood-fired cooking. Come experience La Vera Pizza Napoletana, true Neapolitan pizza at Via Tevere Pizzeria, 1190 Victoria Drive, and look for the Via Tevere Neapolitan Express food cart around town.
What do you want?
A balcony so high it looks down into soccer matches at BC Place.
A pub I can walk to with a dozen big screens.
Kevin O'Toole has created findaproperty.ca to help you find it. Designed to be simply straightforward, findaproperty.ca is an invaluable tool. That's Kevin O'Toole. Royal LePage, Sussex, for buyers and sellers in the greater Vancouver area like you. So find what you want
A backyard big enough for my own soccer pitch.
at findaproperty.ca.
The Straight Razor Shave, a leading man classic. Steady hand coaxing the rugged face back to smoothness. This nearly lost art has found revival at Barber & Co. Hot towels, straight edge blade, and your face. It's an experience that reminds you you're alive. You're a man in the company of history's finest men. Start at barberandco.ca. Pick your barber shop in Yaletown, Gastown, the Financial District, Cambie at 18th, and now Main Street and 12th Avenue. And relax into the big leather chair for the shave of your life.
This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on CIL 650. Now broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. Here's your host, Tyler Green.
Get into Kia Vancouver right now. Half-price payments at Kia Vancouver, BC's #1 Kia dealership. Find them at 396 Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon or online at KiaVancouver.com. We're going to talk about a player from Spain, Canadian guy in Spain. The first time he's got the scores from Spain.
Yes, in the Spanish Premier League last night, it was Almeria 2, Real Sociedad 2. The feature games today saw Sevilla beat Cordoba by 3-0, and Real Madrid getting back on track with a 2-0 win over Deportivo La Coruña. Tomorrow, Barcelona will host Levante, and Celta Vigo will host Atletico Madrid, and then on Monday, Eibar host Elche.
One of the players that we were kind of talking about during the commercial break is Ben Fisk. Didn't quite work out in Vancouver. Went and is now in Spain plying his trade. Obviously not the top flight, but playing games.
Mm-hmm.
You think a player that needs to be in the plans this coming year?
I think so. Yes, he's playing. I think it's third or fourth tier in Spain, but he's getting games and he's getting regular playing time. And full credit to him because he's been able to go and find somewhere that's been able to give him a job. And I think that's really the important thing is there needs to be a certain amount of humbling that the younger players like a Ben Fisk or even a Bryce Alderson need to understand that at the end of the day it's about finding a place where they can play. And to be very honest, there isn't a particular prerequisite requirement, Tyler, that to play for the Canadian national team, you have to be playing at a certain tier in a certain country. It probably has just got to be about getting a good place to play professionally, and if you do well and you're playing regularly, there's a more than fair chance that, particularly if you have and we'd like to think Benito Flores is prepared to be open-minded, that a player like Ben Fisk can get called up and be brought into the senior squad, which I'd like to think by what he's trying to do right now is going to give him more than half a chance of doing so.
Yeah, and currently it is third-level football in Spain. So, it's not obviously the where exactly you want him to be, but still not a bad level to play in. And like we talked about, getting regular minutes. And that is a guy that should be selected ahead of players that are not getting any minutes whatsoever. So they come into camp and, we hear it all the time. As much training as you do outside and you train with teams and you train on your own, playing games is really the high point of being able to get in shape, and you can't necessarily just step up to that level by getting called up to the national team a couple times a year.
Exactly, and it doesn't matter how much experience that you have. You're going to be off the pace, and we have to be, if we have to sacrifice experience for having younger players that are getting regular playing time, then that has got to be the case. Because again, it is about what we're doing beyond just this upcoming World Cup qualifying cycle. It's about what are we going to look like when we're trying to qualify for Qatar in 2022. Or the World Cup in 2026, which could, you never know, be hosted in this very country of ours. What are we looking like at this point, but going down the road, and what can we do now to put ourselves in a much better position to be in contention to be in soccer's showpiece event at that point? And really, that's really for me where the focus should be, because trying to talk about Canada going to Russia 2018 to me is just not realistic. But it's not to say that you can't use the qualifying cycle to build things up to make yourself stronger.
And you never know. You might get into that qualifying cycle. Some guys might step up, really show their worth, really show something that you may have not been able to see. And, who knows, you may just happen to come across something, might get onto a hot streak, and who knows, you may end up qualifying in the end. You can't rule that out. But one thing is for sure, the guys that they have been going with over the last 10 or so years have not been able to get it done for Canada, and you need to have that change. But at the same time, Simon, we were talking about Ben Fisk. Some of the blame falls to some of these players as well, who I think also kind of get it in their head, and this isn't necessarily just a Canadian problem, but players think they're sometimes better than they are, and they don't kind of rediscover themselves. They don't go somewhere just in order to get minutes. They all think, oh, well, I had an MLS contract once, so and I should hold out for that MLS team to come find me again.
Or they think that they should be able to play at a particular level in a particular country, that if the offer that they do actually get is below them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about just trying to get games and get minutes, particularly if you haven't been able to get them, say, the year before or over the last, say, couple of seasons. It's about just trying to get back into the swing of things, and I think there needs to be a sense of taking it and saying, this is my profession. It's about whatever work I can get. I mean, most average people out there have to do that when they have a situation where maybe they've been put out of work and they've got to get themselves back on their feet. As a footballer, you've got to sort of think along those lines. You've got to put yourself back in a position where you're just starting to play again, because you can turn it around and you can put it in the right way. So what if you have to go to the Highlands and play for Ross County or Inverness Caledonia Thistle in a remote place, or you end up having to play in the fourth tier in the Netherlands? It's still, you get playing time. You get a chance to get on your feet, and you never know, if you do extremely well there, or even within half a season, let alone one season, you might be able to move up 2 divisions in that particular country because someone has been watching you. So it's it is really about trying to get games, and if you make the effort to find a team and get back on track, I just think that it isn't going to be that difficult for you if you're a Canadian and a committed person to be part of the Canadian men's national team, to get yourself in the mix with your country's national side.
Yeah, you look at a guy like Ethan Gage, who, it was big talk. He, graduated from the Whitecaps residency program, hit the Whitecaps NASL side, and then it was sort of, okay, well, does he kind of get that next step and go to a Major League Soccer team? Goes to Reading, doesn't play any games. Now, goes to Sweden and plays for a squad there, and now just has signed a new contract with the Norwegian side. So, he's taking that step to try to move his way into find his career, and, potentially getting an opportunity to take that next step and be that player. And it's going to be interesting. Here's, we were talking about Bryce Alderson off the air. Here's a guy that was in an MLS side but didn't play. Well, now where is he? He needs to really now take this opportunity to go find himself and find a place to play. He's 21 years old. He needs to find a place to play. That might be NASL, that might be a USL Pro team, but he needs to go out and find a place to play, and he needs to do it soon, because otherwise, just more and more disappearing act for some of these guys.
Yeah, and Adam Straith has been able to do that. Go to Norway, I think it was with Fredrikstad, which they play similar season to here in North America, which is spring, summer, and then into the fall. So he's got a club to play for, and it'll be particularly interesting to see with him, just to give an example of that, of players that are unattached that we've seen play for Canada and players that are playing with a club, what difference it makes to seeing Adam Straith before he got that deal as to after the fact, because he's now getting regular football in the Norwegian Tippeliga.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, Olympic qualifying coming up. What do you think Canada should do in terms of those players, and which players should they look at to be on that side?
Oh well, obviously it has to be players that are under 23. But I think if there's ones that they can move up from the under 20 squad, they should do so. Have to maybe do a bit of a wait and see on, particularly when the MLS season starts. See if Kyle Larin can actually find the scoring touch that was not there in Jamaica, and was quite disappointing not to see that. But if he finds a scoring touch with Orlando City, if he could be a player that they can bring in, I would think, because I see such great value in them trying to qualify for this tournament, the more players that they can find that are in around that line of 23 years of age that they can bring in, they feel they can do a job, then they should try their best to try and bring those players in. But also, it should be about trying to get some of the younger guys that maybe are 2 or 3 years, a little less of that line in the mix as well. Because, at the end of the day, the qualifying tournament in itself is just another opportunity to get good games in against the kind of opposition and the kind of player you've got to go up against in this part of the world if you want to ultimately achieve your aims.
I know you said it's kind of a wait and see, but what are some of the names that you think about when you think the Olympic team, these guys should probably be there?
I like the idea of a Fisk. I'm prepared to give a Kyle Larin a chance, for example. I think certainly Russell Tybert might be one that you could use in this tournament that would be good. Jonathan Osorio, certainly, if he gets quite a few minutes at Toronto FC, would be worth bringing in. Those are some of the players that I think that probably should get considered. Ones that, because I think for qualifying it's strictly under 23. They can't take any overage players in. It's once you qualify for the Olympics that you can then take a squad that's predominantly under 23 and then 3 overage. It's been the way that they have done it in the past. But I think they need to look at those players, particularly from the sense that their leadership will need to be that's required to have a squad of that sort. Probably needs to be drawn from players that are getting regular minutes in the senior side and provide a particular amount of leadership at their club teams.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting to see, but it definitely needs to be players that get regular minutes in teams. I think USL Pro is going to be a huge benefit of that. That's going to help teams quite a bit. Switching gears, because a lot of those guys are going to be Vancouver Whitecaps players. They have a lot of guys that were on that U20 roster, so a lot of those guys might be competing for spots with the U20 squad. But over the next few weeks, we're going to kind of see what the Whitecaps need to do. We touched on it earlier, but they really need to sort of now in the next week or so figure out which guys are going to be on that MLS roster, which guys are going to be on that USL roster, and kind of make the separation. And then once they get to Portland, focus in on that team. Here's what we're going to have on the team. Here's how we're going to play. And now go out and win that starting job.
Absolutely. And I think, I think the thing that is really good this year is there's no sort of definite cut line here. If the players that don't go to Portland, that they'll feel down maybe that they're not obviously going to be there the reckoning first day of the season, be in the first team squad, but that doesn't mean that they're lost. It just means that this is where they're at. This is going to be their next stage, so they move to the level and into the USL Pro situation, and as long as they're given a good understanding of where they're at with their levels and what they need to work on, then hopefully they take that into being part of the USL side and work with the likes of Alan Koch and Steve Meadley and work on the things that they need to improve to be able to get to that level. But certainly when we get down to the simple invitational in Portland, we need to be seeing a Whitecap side that is starting to galvanize things towards what we will ultimately see on March 7th and beyond into the first month of the season in terms of the players that are going to start, where they're going to line up. But more than anything, we will need to also judge those 3 games and their performances in terms of how quickly are they starting to get their understanding with each other on the pitch, particularly between the players up front and the midfielders.
Steven Badischer is one of those players that is very likely going to be a starting player for the Vancouver Whitecaps again this year. He has kind of missed training quite a bit due to the fact that he was sort of planned his off season in the possibility and really almost inclusion of himself to the national team, which he didn't make, which was playing at the African Nations Cup, and then sort of do his honeymoon afterwards and then come back to the Whitecaps. Well, that didn't happen, so he sort of was here in Vancouver for the training session. Didn't go to Arizona, went on his honeymoon, is now back with training, but Steven Badischer caught up with the media this week and talked about his time away.
Nice to get away, finally do the honeymoon, and it was just a good time.
Where'd you end up going?
To Thailand.
Wow.
Yeah, it's beautiful there. Warm and nice relaxing time, so it was good.
So does tomorrow have a special meaning for you, or does it change anything on Valentine's Day for you?
Another Valentine's Day, yeah. Another Valentine's Day in the book, so we'll just do the standard dinner, and I won't spoil the rest of the stuff when we get her, but the standard stuff, yeah.
Thanks, Steven. Talk about what's happening with yourself. Let our fans know what's happening in your situation in terms of you're rehabbing right now?
Am I rehabbing right now? No.
Just, sorry, not rehabbing.
You obviously missed the games at Tucson, so an opportunity to play in the game on Sunday and just get some game action.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
right,
sorry, Steve.
Right now I'm just, getting, the body back under myself and getting ready for this weekend in Victoria. We have another good game to get ready for the March 7th opener, so I'm just getting ready for that.
What can the fans expect for the team on Sunday?
Yeah, I think it's just another game to prepare for Toronto, so, we're going to put our best foot forward. I think the squad that's going to come out is a good squad and one that wants to win. I think anytime you play a game, you want to win to get that confidence and get ready for that season opener, so that's another good game to prepare for that.
You excited about the season? You got some new faces out there. You like the caliber?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited. The whole time I was gone, I was just thinking about, the boys, the team, and just missed that. So it's good to be back, and I can't wait to get the season started. I know it's still 3 weeks away, but I wish it were tomorrow we could play.
Steven, is it nice to be able to have a preseason match over there on the Vancouver Island? Some fans maybe they don't get to come over to the mainland to see the Caps. How good is it to be able to go and show the people over there the Whitecaps team?
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity. I'm actually very excited because I didn't get the chance to go last year. So I'm excited because so many people talk about how beautiful it is over there. And it's a good opportunity for us to go out there and kind of, show us to those people that can't exactly make it over here and watch our game. So we're going to put up a good show for them, and hopefully a lot of them come out and support and enjoy the game.
Steven Badischer talking to the media, a very small crowd of media. I want to thank our journalist for sending me some audio. She was at training and sent us over that. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously a game on Sunday against Victoria, and then back here in Vancouver for a few days to work on a few things and really, I think, focus down and find things out. And USL, Whitecaps FC2, going to make some announcements on some player signings very soon as well. All right, quick timeout here on the program, but back in a minute with the final cut, and we'll find out who can make the final cut of the Olympic qualifying. And we'll also, it's everyone's favorite topic. It's hot fudge.
Follow us on Twitter at SoccerTalk650 and at Tyler Green FC. This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on CIL 650.
Vancouver Street Soccer League is the beautiful game at its finest. Teams of men and women who are homeless, have recently been homeless, or are at risk for homelessness get together to train and play matches. It's great fun that builds skill and confidence, and the league sent players to 4 consecutive Homeless World Cups in Milan, Rio de Janeiro, Paris, Mexico City, and Poland. Find out more at VancouverStreetSoccer.com.
Vancouver Street Soccer League. Get into it and get behind it.
Kia Vancouver Vancouver asks, what's your favorite part of the game? The first half or the second half? While you think about that, we'll tell you about Kia's half-price payments on now, with Kia Vancouver paying half your payments on select 2015s, financing only. Pick your favorite half, and Kia Vancouver will pay the other half. And new Kia buyers always get free lifetime car washes, oil changes, airport shuttle, and parking at Kia Vancouver on Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon and KiaVancouver.com.
Whether playing soccer on this continent or football on every other, Umbro is the name worn by top players and teams worldwide. Those same uniforms are available for your team or club at Umbro.com. Umbro, proud to be the official supplier of Canada's men's and women's national teams, is celebrating 90 years of expertise in the game. If you want your club to play like the pros, dress them like the pros at Umbro.com. Umbro, the heart and soul of football.
What do you want?
A balcony so high it looks down into soccer matches at BC Place.
A pub I can walk to with a dozen big screens.
Kevin O'Toole has created findaproperty.ca to help you find it. Designed to be simply straightforward, findaproperty.ca is an invaluable tool. That's Kevin O'Toole, Royal LePage, Sussex, for buyers and sellers in the greater Vancouver area like you. So find what you want
A backyard big enough for my own soccer pitch.
at findaproperty.ca.
The family story begins generations ago on Via Tevere, a street in the heart of Naples, where food was the celebration of life. Today, in East Van, Via Tevere Pizzeria Napoletana honors their family heritage with La Vera Pizza Napoletana, pizza that showcases authentic Neapolitan ingredients and the time-honored tradition of wood-fired cooking. Come experience La Vera Pizza Napoletana, true Neapolitan pizza at Via Tevere Pizzeria, 1190 Victoria Drive, and look for the Via Tevere Neapolitan Express food cart around town.
Not that your stylist at the salon isn't doing a good job, but man, you deserve the big red leather barber chair experience of Barber & Co. Here's how it works. Go to barberandco.ca. Book your appointment at one of the 5 barber shops in Gastown, Yaletown, the Financial District, Cambie at 18th, and now Main Street and 12th Avenue. You can just walk in, too, and get your hair cut, hot shave, buzz cut, fade, or beard trim experience. A great wedding party idea, too. barberandco.ca.
This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on CIL 650. Now broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. Here's your host, Tyler Green.
It's time for the final cut, brought to you by Barber & Co. On Twitter at Barber & Co. 5 full-service barbershops for your big haircut, hot shave, buzz cut, fade, beard trim. Get the ultimate barbershop experience. The locations include Gastown, Yaletown, the Financial District, Cambie and 18th, and the corner of Main and 12th, barberandco.ca. And if you've ever thought they're going to be opening up a barber school, and if you've ever thought about it, check out their website, barberandco.ca, if you want to cut some hair. All right, for the final cut today, we've talked a little bit about the Canadian men's national team here in the second half of the program. We talked about the Olympic qualifying tournament that happens later on this year and the Olympics itself. So for the competition rules, just to clarify, all athletes participating in the qualification events for the Rio 2016 Olympic football tournaments must be born on or after January 1st, 1993. No overage players will be permitted to participate in any qualification competition matches. So basically what that means is if you're born in 1993, 94, 95, etc., you can play in the qualifying tournaments. If and when your team qualifies, then of course it's anybody born January 1st, 1993 and after, and then a maximum of 3 players over that age will get the exemption. So people remember a few years ago, everyone wanted David Beckham on the Great Britain team.
That's right.
Yeah, didn't quite make it.
Nope.
But some other veteran players were on that side, obviously.
Ryan Giggs, Craig Bellamy, to name 2. I remember that.
So
yeah.
guys like that could be on the roster.
Yeah.
So Let's bet. Dwayne DiRosario. If Canada qualifies, I'm going to say Dwayne DiRosario gets on that team.
There's his swan song right there, folks. Yeah.
Oh, boy. All right, get into Kia Vancouver right now. Half-price payments on Kia Vancouver vehicles. Kia Vancouver is BC's #1 Kia dealership. Find them at 396 Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon or online at KiaVancouver.com.
Oh, baby. Hot fudge with Simon Fudge.
Mid-February. Yes, I know it's Valentine's Day today, but my hot fudge is something a little bit more towards the next phase of the year here, which is spring and spring cleaning. And I think maybe it's time you start early and clear out a lot of your old stuff that you don't need anymore. I've just done a whole pile of that in the last few days on Vancouver Island. Quite an experience of going through. Great memories and stuff, and pulled out a few gems along the way, but maybe if you get the opportunity to do it, start early and get your spring cleaning done now.
Yeah, get your spring cleaning done and give the stuff that you're going to throw away to Greg, our producer.
Exactly. He took quite a chunk off of me, and he was a very happy man for doing so, I would think.
It's all hockey-related stuff, goaltending stuff specifically, so I'll take it any day.
I tweeted out some photos of Simon's spring cleaning stuff of some great pictures from the 86 World Cup squad, and some photos of some of the guys that were on the, including our friend Paul Dolan, who joins us on the program here. What an incredible mustache! Oh,
incredible! Just remembered my first memory
from the Canadian Soccer Association. 86, basically. I don't know what
souvenir
program.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
And you stole a John Garrett card from the pack that Simon was going to give me.
Yeah, I did. Because I'm going to see John the next Canuck game that I work. I was at the game last night, so I'm gonna give it to him and get him to sign it.
I'm sure he loves being reminded of that stuff.
Oh, it's great. I got Kelly Rudy back in the day. I got Kelly Rudy. Another time, another station with my producing program with my pal Rick Ball, and Kelly Rudy came in and was a co-host for the entire week on the morning show. And I said, Kelly, I've got a bunch of hockey cards I want you to sign. He said, sure, do it. Bring them in. And then he had fun looking through them and talking about some of the pictures that were on there and some of his memories of playing. So it was pretty fun. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go give this to John and get him to sign it.
I guess you can have it.
Hey, I got here earlier before you did, Greg. All right, for the crew here at Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk, my co-host Simon Fudge. You can read him in goal.com. Producer Greg the Hammer Ballack. As always, a special thank you to Thomas Rajan, Fred Anko. Thank you for their continued support. My name's Tyler Green. You can read me in 24 Hours Vancouver on Wednesday, so pick up a copy of your 24 Hours newspaper every Wednesday. Thank you for listening to the program. You can download the podcast at CL650.com. Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk. We return next Saturday, 10 p.m.
Kia Vancouver asks, what's your favorite part of the game? The first half or the second half? While you think about that, we'll tell you about Kia's half-price payments on now, with Kia Vancouver paying half your payments on select 2015s, financing only. Pick your favorite half, and Kia Vancouver will pay the other half. And new Kia buyers always get free lifetime car washes, oil changes, airport shuttle, and parking at Kia Vancouver on Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon and KiaVancouver.com.
What do you want?
A balcony so high it looks down into soccer matches at BC Place.
A pub I can walk to with a dozen big screens.
Kevin O'Toole has created findaproperty.ca to help you find it. Designed to be simply straightforward, findaproperty.ca is an invaluable tool. That's Kevin O'Toole, Royal LePage, Sussex, for buyers and sellers in the greater Vancouver area like you. So find what you want
A backyard big enough for my own soccer pitch.
at findaproperty.ca.
The Vancouver Street Soccer League isn't out to change the world. Just give the men and women in our homeless communities a chance to play soccer. Regardless of skill, everyone's included in practices and matches with teams from UBC, the Vancouver Police Department, the Vancouver Mayor's Office, and more. The focus is fun, but it builds skill and confidence, and that can change someone's world. Find out more at VancouverStreetSoccer.com.
Vancouver Street Soccer League. Get into it and get behind it. And let's change the world.
Whether playing soccer on this continent or football on every other, Umbro is the name worn by top players and teams worldwide. Those same uniforms are available for your team or club at Umbro.com. Umbro, proud to be the official supplier of Canada's men's and women's national teams, is celebrating 90 years of expertise in the game. If you want your club to play like the pros, dress them like the pros at Umbro.com. Umbro, the heart and soul of football.
The Straight Razor Shave, a leading man classic. Steady hand coaxing the rugged face back to smoothness. This nearly lost art has found revival at Barber & Co. Hot towel, straight edge blade, and your face. It's an experience that reminds you you're alive. You're a man in the company of history's finest men. Start at barberandco.ca. Pick your barber shop in Yaletown, Gastown, the Financial District, Cambie at 18th, and now Main Street and 12th Avenue. And relax into the big leather chair for the shave of your life.
Kia Vancouver asks, what's your favorite part of the game? The first half or the second half? While you think about that, we'll tell you about Kia's half-price payments on now, with Kia Vancouver paying half your payments on select 2015s, financing only. Pick your favorite half, and Kia Vancouver will pay the other half. And new Kia buyers always get free lifetime car washes, oil changes, airport shuttle, and parking at Kia Vancouver on Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon and KiaVancouver.com.